Hi, this is Mr. Ye. Today I'd like to teach you how to solve literal equation. Solve literal equation is probably the most important technique in Algebra 2. And actually in Algebra 1, so this is a very essential thing because it can apply to physics, economics, biology, any other course that requires solving a letter for equation. Physics, we use that all the time. So we're going to talk about a few problems. So first one, we're going to start with a chemistry equation. So I'm going to show you how much it's relevant to all different kind of subjects. Hello? So start with the chemistry. Chemistry, there is a questions like this: P V equal to nRT. This is actually a Perfner equation. We apply to the gas law. P stands for pressure, V stands for volume in liter, P stands for pressure in atmosphere, N stands for mole of a gas, R represents constant, T represents temperature in Kelvin. So we can say, hey, let's solve for, let's solve for R. So R is the one that we're gonna look at. So we can solve for R in this case. So in this case that we are solving for R, which is here. Then we can say, well, PV equal to nRT, we're gonna solve for R. We need to make sure we get rid of N and T. But since this N and T is connected by multiplication, I can actually divide it to the other side. So nRT, I'm going to divide it both sides because this is what we're solving for. So we can divide by N and T on both sides, N and T. So R is equal to PV over NT. So this is happened in chemistry. Okay, so this is a very, very simple one. You can try to solve, let's say it's P equal to IV squared. This one I just made up. So you can say solve for V. So you can try this one. Now we can talk about another one. Is happen in geometry. And a lot of you guys should know this formula, P equal to 2W plus 2L. And we say solve for W. Now, if I want to solve for W, it's going to be right here. That means I need to isolate this 2W by itself, and then we're not solving for 2W, we're solving for a W right here. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, P equal to 2W plus 2L. I'm going to say, well, we are solving for W. So we need to move everything to the other side, but start moving like addition and subtraction. So I'm going to say subtract 2L on both sides. So I'm going to get 2W equal to P minus 2L. And I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So that's equal to W equal to P minus 2L over 2. Now, I don't like this answer because when bottom's one term, I try to tell my students always make sure you divide it out separately. So it'll be P over 2 plus minus 2L over 2. And that's equal to P over 2 minus L. So they both are correct answers, but I like this answer a little bit better. But sometimes they show you both answers. So you have to recognize they both answers are the same. You can try to do this. So 3x plus 2z is equal to 6y, and solve for z. Okay, try the second question. So those are example questions. I can come back and do them. You can pause it and actually try those problems. The next question, I'm going to call it the panda problem. The panda problem is actually, I usually solve like a panda problem. So we're going to say it's P is equal to AN over D plus A. So spell PANDA. So at this case, we are solving for A. So ideally, like when you see this type of question, that don't be panic, because you can actually look at this, you can solve for A. So those are the things I'm going to start underline. So this is the A I'm solving for. But the problem A is on numerator and denominator. Couple things that strategy-wise that I'll have make sure the strategy write down. I don't like fractions. Don't like fractions. Fractions. And you can get rid of fraction by multiply the least common denominator. Okay. The second thing is the variable you solve for. The variable you solve for is inside a parenthesis. Inside a parenthesis. You rescue them. You distribute. You distribute. Move all the term related to the variable you're solving for into one side. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Or you have two variables on two different, same variable on two different terms. You can use factoring skills. So if you have the variable you're solving for in two separate terms, you factor them. GCF. So in this question, I don't like P equal to A and over D plus A. I don't like the fractions, just like what I talked about. I don't like fraction. I multiply them by D plus A. When I multiply by that, I'm going to have a parenthesis of D plus A on this side. That's equal to AN. And now you see the variable you're solving for here. We're going to kind of keep a track of this. The variable you're solving for is inside the parentheses. So kind of like in the second step that you want to make sure you go rescue them. So I will have PD, I use distribution, plus PA is equal to A plus N. AN. Now I'm going to move all the variable on same side. So all the term related to the variable you're solving for into one side. So you see that this A here, this is A, they are related to A, which is what variable we're solving for. We can move all of them in one side. So help us organize those things. So in this case, it's going to be PD is equal to AN minus PA. So I subtract PA on both sides. I subtract PA on both sides. I subtract PA on both sides. I'm going to get this. So you see the A I'm solving for is right here, which is talked about the last one. If you have a variable that you're solving for is in two separate terms, in this case, if they're in two separate terms, I can factor out. So I can say PD equal to A times N minus P. If you factor out, now I have changed those two A term into the one term. So now I just have to, and this is multiplied. So all I got to do is divide both sides by N minus P. So N minus P n minus p. So I say a is equal to pd over n minus p. Okay. Now here's a sample problem that you can do, which is I call it D problem. D equal to e over e plus r. I name it the animal, so that way you can kind of easier to see it. I can name however I want it, and then you can see how that works. Okay. So I'm gonna go back and solve for this one. P equal to I v squared. I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna get v by itself first. So v squared is equal to p over I first, because it's divided by both sides by I, and the I is gonna cancel. I'm gonna square root both sides to get rid of the square, so it's gonna be p over I, and I'm gonna do the square root. The only thing that you might be missing is that plus minus. Okay, plus minus is very important that you have those, and that's gonna help you solve a problem, because when you square root both sides, make sure you get plus minus. At this question, I'm solving for z, so that means I'm gonna get z by itself, but I'm gonna subtract 3x on both sides, so that's gonna give me 3x